All right, welcome back to Rare Elvis Photos. Now, this could be controversial. There's a lot of books out there about Elvis. We've been reading Job Ride, From Here to the Great Unknown about Lisa, My Army Days with Elvis from Johnny Lang, Elvis and Kathy by Kathy Westmoreland. We've even read a little bit of Elvis in the Army by William J. Taylor. I personally read Last Train to Memphis. Careless Love also. These are very, 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 very big books. So we're gonna try something. We are going to read some of this, and we're gonna see what y'all think about it. Maybe you've read it, maybe you haven't. Maybe you read it a long time ago, maybe you've just heard about it. I remember reading it when I was a lot younger, and thinking it could be. That was my thought process. It could be. You can see here the cheekbones. I can see that part. Now, do you see it much in the eyes? Maybe a teeny bit. But regardless, I want to give this a try and see what y'all think about it. So let's get to it, because I've completely forgotten it. Completely. Let's read what it says, the book club edition. On a cool night in Memphis, high on a grassy hilltop, Elvis Presley fell in love with a beautiful French teenager with sparkling green eyes, a melting smile, and a haunted existence. This love ignited a passionate romance hidden from the world for 24 years. When they met in 1953, Lucy DeBarban was a troubled 16-year-old who begged God nightly to free her from a physically and psychologically tortured life. So in 1953, Elvis would have been 18, and she was 16. Elvis Presley was an 18-year-old dreamer. Whoops, I guess I should have kept reading. Filled with an intense desire that would fuel an unparalleled rise to fame, fortune, and eventually to legendary status too heavy to bear. Their love was born of necessity, grew in secrecy. I don't want to read any more, because why would you do that when you can read the book? I don't like... this was also 1987, same year that Elvis and Kathy came out. This was a much bigger release, I think, because I don't think this book's very expensive. Could be, might not be, but I don't think so. I'm going to take you all the way through it. Love that picture of Elvis. It's called Are You Lonesome Tonight? The untold story of Elvis Presley's one true love and the child he never knew. To E.L. Lancelot, my everlasting love. All right, it was an intriguing tip. Certainly worth investigating. An unknown daughter of Elvis Presley would be a marketable story. If there was any substance to it, a stylish presentation could lure a major magazine. If it was the more typical one-night stand love child, a shot of rocket fuel in the prose would make the tabloid editors frenzied. I pursued, she spooked. My contacts in Los Angeles informed me that the thought of an interview mortified her. I greeted her fear with mixed emotions. Not getting the story was disappointing. The fact that she didn't want it told made it more plausible. I went on to other assignments, keeping this one in the back of my mind. 6 months later, I received a call at my home in Miami. It was Desiree. She was tentative, extremely cautious. She spoke in a soft, refined voice. She said that she might be interested in talking, but not then. She would contact me again. Now I was fascinated. She called a few more times over the next 6 months. She asked me all the questions. What kind of story did I have in mind? In what publication would it appear? I tried to answer the best I could, but I had no idea what the story was. Whenever I probed for details, she retreated. She called again and told me she would be laying over in Miami the following week. She was returning from a trip to South America. Could I meet her at customs? She described herself as tall and slender, with long black hair. She added she would be wearing She added that she would be wearing unusual sunglasses with alternative white and black frames. You can't miss me, she said. I look like my father. The plane was an hour late. I must have studied over 1,000 faces streaming out the Miami Customs Gate. 99% of the travelers had black hair. Nothing clicked. I figured I missed her. Then she appeared. There was no doubt. Her description was accurate. Tall, nearly 6 feet in her heels, lean, with long black hair, but she left out an unimportant adjective. Beautiful. Her coloring blended with Latins swarming around her, but her features stood out. Her cheekbones were high and prominent. Her nationality was indeterminable. Not Latin, not quite European, a sprinkling of American Indian. She looked something like what Calvin Klein might create. As she moved closer, her beauty became chilling. I stood staring at her with my mouth agape. She looked so much like Elvis, it was eerie. So eerie, she set off a subconscious recognition that raised goosebumps on my body. I then noticed that she was wearing odd sunglasses that were to be my clue. Desiree was politely reserved when I introduced myself. She was guarded about everything, even her trip to South America. That was surprising. Despite our phone conversations and her prior reservations about the interview, I still expected a wide-eyed, giggly Hollywood starlet desperate for a break. She would theatrically express her story and cap it with a proclamation that she would carry the baton for Elvis from this point on. But she wasn't anything like that. By that point in my journalistic career, I had interviewed more than 2,000 people. With well-attuned reporter's antenna, I picked up her emotions: tense, afraid, unsure, worry. One wrong question, she would flee. Despite her bold appearance, she was a shy and somewhat naive 25-year-old woman, unprepared to withstand the media attention that revealing her identity would generate. I wasn't sure what I would do with the story, but at that point, I ached to know about it. We small talked about other things, then had a glass of wine. I got her to laugh, and after an hour, she loosened up. "Okay, ask your questions," Desiree said. As I fired away, my anticipation quickly became bewilderment. I had a suitcase full of questions, but she didn't have any answers. The first 10 questions, mostly concerning her mother's relationship with Elvis, were met with a shrug or an "I don't know." She didn't know how or where her mother met him, nor how long they knew each other. In essence, she didn't appear to have an inkling how she became his daughter. She just knew she was. A less experienced interviewer might have accused her of being a fraud. In the course of my career, I frequently had the pleasure of going one-on-one with some of the best liars in the world. Wonder if he interviewed Priscilla. The standard liars on the regular newspaper beat, the politician and the pitchman, are rank amateurs compared to the con men and women who hustle the extraterrestrial and parapsychology circles. These characters are classics. Strap them up to lie detectors and they pass with flying colors. Give them the U.S. Army stress tests, confirms that they just whizzed in from Pluto. Yet, you can tell. You know they're lying. The smooth, practiced answers, the mannerisms, the sense that they're giving a performance, and they always slip up. A perceptive interviewer quickly learns to sift through the swindlers and crazies in order to locate the demure housewife or embarrassed forest ranger who did experience something strange, something real. Now, Desiree exhibited none of the affectations of dishonesty. What confirmed her credibility for me was her glaring lack of knowledge about Elvis. A fraud would have studied every detail of his life, weaved it into her story. A good fraud would have been able to field the toughest questions by calling upon the vast store of information. Desiree didn't even know when Elvis entered the Army. That was decisive. Her birthday was so close to the date that a couple of months either way would have exposed her. But she had no reason to check it out. She was telling the truth, what little of it she knew. When it became apparent that the interview was going nowhere, Desiree merely laughed and said, "You're going to have to talk to my mother. She has all the answers." Well, I certainly did want to meet her mother. Another 3 months passed before it was arranged. What I didn't know was that I had been the focus of a year-long tug-of-war between Desiree and her mother. The mother, Lucy, wanted no part of any story. Desiree was unrelenting. She had to be. It was the key to her own quest. Lucy finally agreed to meet me in Dallas at the Marriott Quorum. I was introduced to a petite, attractive woman with black hair, sparkling green eyes, and a bright but uneasy smile. We spent the first day sightseeing and getting to know each other. Late in the afternoon of the second day, Lucy began to talk, and she began to cry. I was totally mesmerized that afternoon, and I would be for the next 20 months. Lucy's story is both tragic and inspirational, one that transcends the simple elements of love, a secret child, and the fame of Elvis Presley. She fell in love with a boy, not an image. She loved a man, not a superstar. Their relationship never peaked and in turn never cooled. It was a dream love frozen forever at 16, an exhilarating first date that lasted 24 years. It took almost 2 years for Lucy to recount her life. The details had been sealed inside so long that she had to shear them out piece by piece. Each session would leave her physically and emotionally devastated. I had interviewed people whose children were killed, wives who lost husbands, RAPE victims, individuals who had experienced every kind of grief imaginable, but I had never witnessed anyone wrenching out their soul as Lucy did. Like Desiree, Lucy was convincing. She had a tremendous amount of intimate knowledge of Elvis, but all of it came firsthand. Anything outside her relationship with him was unknown, even things casual fans knew. She too didn't know the exact date he entered the Army. She didn't know her blood type, or Elvis's, or her daughter's, factors that are very vital. Sometimes a passage in one of the many error-prone books detailing Elvis's life conflicted with her account. I'd insist that a meeting or event couldn't have happened, as she said. She would gently inform me that she didn't know what the book said. All she knew was that it occurred the way she's described. I'd dig further, question Elvis's associates, and uncover the facts or discover the mistake and realize she had been right all along. Now, that's an interesting thing. Now, the guy that's writing this book, his name is Desiree Matera. He was an editor with the Rodell Press, which is a very great press, and he was a reporter for the Miami News. So, probably not an amateur, but maybe we'll do some more research. But the fact that he questioned her, that said she was wrong because all the other sources said that she was wrong, and then when he pressed the other sources, he realizes that she'd been right. So there's something there, possibly. And that's what I want to do. I want us to take a journey on whether possibly this could be something real. I know that you've probably seen interviews of Lucy DeBarbin and the daughter Desiree, and I think there's a couple out there, I think. You can't tell either way. They're like done in France or something. But let's keep going. She was never wrong about anything. Interesting. Lucy not only told the undeniable truth about having known, loved, and been loved by Elvis, she was unfailingly accurate about every aspect of their relationship from 1953 to August 16, 1977, the day he died. This is interesting. Now, once again, I'm not buying into it completely right now, but I'm interested. She was also unbending. She emphatically refused to allow even the slightest deviation. Lucy wanted it recorded, as it was, not scrubbed and glossed over to protect him or her. She asked him all the questions you would have asked him. The drugs, the self-destruction, the women, why he clung to the colonel, why he surrounded himself with a gang of adolescents with sideburns, why he married, then ignored Priscilla. His answers weren't profound. Elvis favored denial and avoidance over introspection. But through Lucy, a woman he trusted, who loved him prior to his fame, and with whom he shared the most intimate feelings, we are given a renewed insight into the man. Lucy paints a portrait of an Elvis that even his closest associates may not recognize. Which brings me to her memory. It was perfect. Not perfect in that she recalled everything, but perfect in that she remembered everything you and I remember about events in our past, and she forgot things that you and I forget. She recounted exact conversations, but wasn't sure of the year they occurred. She could remember the color of the carpet and the drapes in a hotel room, but not the name of the hotel. I was unmerciful at times, pushing her for precise descriptions. Working together, we were able to pinpoint virtually every detail. It was an exhausting process. Lucy's uncanny ability to remember long passages of conversation, while welcomed, did induce skepticism. I consulted Jeanette Dreyfus Diedrich, MD, a professor of clinical psychiatry at the University of Miami School of Medicine and director of psychiatric emergency services, Jackson Memorial Hospital. Dr. Dreyfus's Diedrich answer is enlightening. If a woman is given only a limited amount of time to spend with the man she loves, she endures the separation by constantly recalling and reliving every moment down to the finest detail. In Lucy's case, it goes even beyond that. Her moments with Elvis were the few pleasant surprises she had in a long, distressing life. She desperately had hung on to them for sheer survival. The clarity and extent of her memory not only doesn't surprise me, I would expect it. This is not to say that Lucy willingly confessed everything. She never lied, but she tried to hide a number of things from me, facts that were too painful to admit. I would uncover them, become perplexed, and confront her. She would be evasive, confusing me more. My unwavering and sensitive journalist demand for an airtight story usually blinded me to the reason. I would hate myself afterwards for grilling her on such a sensitive, long-buried topic. There was one final, nagging question. Despite the anguish, tears, and long hours of work involved, Lucy and Desiree never asked for a dime. The story was originally conceived as a magazine article. I would get the money. Lucy would receive my thanks. It wasn't until I realized the power and depth of Lucy's recollections that I suggested writing a book. At first, she rejected the idea. The slightest hint that she is exploiting her relationship with Elvis sends Lucy deeper into her protective shell. She and Desiree view the notion of making a claim against Elvis's estate as abhorrent. Their lack of greed was refreshing, but left Lucy totally without motivation for revealing her secret. There had to be something more than my persistence, however dogged, that made Lucy agree to tell me her story. The answer dropped on me like a bomb during the final interview. Desiree had no answers that day when we first met because she didn't know. Her knowledge ends with the lonely fact that somehow she is Elvis Presley's daughter. Lucy consented to uncover her life because she has been unable, by any other means, to tell her daughter the long, complicated tale. Through me, Lucy has finally found a way to describe to Desiree the joy she had with Elvis and explain the tragic circumstances that kept them apart, making her story a public revelation is, in a sense, appropriate. Elvis gave everything to his fans, possibly even his life. It was Lucy's desire, not Elvis's, that their love be concealed. It was Lucy's decision to keep their daughter hidden, even from him. Elvis would have shared them both with the world. Interesting. So we are going to read this, and I say come along with me because it's a story. Maybe we find out that the story's not right. Maybe we find out that the story is right, but some of the press interviews that were given afterwards made her look foolish because press will do that. I'm just curious. I'm just looking at a few of these pictures here, obviously. These are just basically pictures of Elvis. Then you got her with her other kids. Got a certificate of live birth where you got Presley on there. But that's, regardless, anybody can do that, right? I'm a skeptic like y'all. But at the same time, I believe there could be something, and that's why I'm reading it. We're going to start out with the entertainment factor here and see if there's something that we glean from it that's real. Acknowledgements. I know of no place, either in advanced college courses or at newspapers and magazines, where journalists are taught or even made aware of the possible psychological damage caused by digging into someone's troubled life to withdraw an emotional story. To the contrary, we're taught to overcome our natural instincts, not to interfere with someone's private moment of tragedy, and plunge forward to get the anguish quotes that will help sell tomorrow's newspaper. Faced with this insight into my own insensitivities, I knew I needed help to delve into Lucy's dark past without leaving her mentally spent. No book would have been worth such a price. I was fortunate to interest an outstanding psychiatrist in Lucy's story. Her assistance in helping me understand Lucy was invaluable. In the process, she also helped me to understand the motivations behind the often quizzical actions of the main characters. I also offer my special thanks to Jeanette Dreyfus-Diedrich, MD, Assistant Professor of Clinical Psychiatry, University of Miami School of Medicine, Medical Director of Psychiatric Emergency Services, Jackson Memorial Hospital, Miami, Florida. Dr. Dreyfus-Diedrich's French heritage and Catholic upbringing were added benefits in that they reflected Lucy's. In addition, invaluable editorial assistance was provided by Fran Asalan Matera, PhD, School of Communication. So, on the other end, Lucy and Desiree had their own special advisor who encouraged them to go forward with the book and provided them comfort when they were fearful of the consequences. We are deeply indebted to Rafael Rodriguez, MD, Senior Surgeon, Broughton Medical Center, Culver City, California, St. John's Hospital, and Santa Monica Medical Center, Santa Monica. Although this book is basically one woman's story, it did entail a significant amount of research. Most of those I interviewed were not apprised of the full extent of the story. They were sought for their knowledge of past events in the life of either Lucy or Elvis that were appropriate to this project. They deserve my sincere thanks for their willingness to share their time and memories with me, despite me being unable to fully disclose the purpose of my inquiries. In Monroe, Louisiana, special thanks to Mary Wilton Wade and Jane Hayden. So there's a lot of thanks in this book, okay? A lot of different people. So you can see, in Los Angeles, special thanks to Curry Grant. This is interesting. I didn't know that. Thanks to Joe Esposito, John O'Grady, security, George Klein, Alan Fortas, Jimmy Velvet. This is a well-researched book. We will see where it takes us. So anyways, infinite thanks to my agent, and most of all to Lucy for allowing me to hear her story in the most intimate telling. If you've made it this far, I ain't stopping, okay? I wish I could have foreseen the horrible end to Elvis's life. Maybe I could have helped him hang on a little longer. Then again, maybe I was part of the reason he did the things that led to his death. I don't know. Looking back, that's what hurts the most, not knowing. I hope God will forgive me if I made the wrong decisions. I would have liked nothing better than to have been Elvis's wife. He asked me many times. It would have been easy to think of myself and run to him. I wanted to, but I couldn't. There were too many people who would have been hurt. I never gave up hope of being with him. I loved him so much. The one thing he and I treasured was our ability to keep our love alive throughout all the troubled years. I blame so many for what happened to Elvis. Those around him were supposed to protect and take care of him. Instead, they hurt him and allowed him to hurt himself. He was so trusting. He was so sensitive. Those who betrayed him injured him more deeply than anyone knew. Each friend who turned his back cut a piece out of Elvis's soul. I played my part. I hid a secret from him that nearly destroyed us both. Or maybe it did, I don't know. I tried to run away. I hid. I tried to protect him. I did everything I could, except for one thing. I never tried to stop Elvis from loving me. I just couldn't. I needed him so much. He was a man beyond the image everyone saw. The only man I could ever love without being afraid. Before him, I was so afraid. He came and took my pain away. He was strong, indomitable, and sure of himself and his beliefs. He was tender, kind, gentle, and loving. He was my lover, my inspiration, and my deliverer. He had his faults, I won't try to deny that, but they were so few and small compared to his goodness. We've lost sight of that now. We've allowed some bitter people to distort our view of him. What he did for me, what he was to me, reveals the man he really was. There remains a wonderful joy to hold on to. My daughter Desiree has grown so beautiful in body and spirit. She reminds me so much of him. She wants the identity I denied for her so long. I worry about her. She's so much like her father. She listens to everyone. She's much too trusting. Underneath her glamour lies a weakness, the same weakness that destroyed him. It's the same sweetness that makes her give of herself and allow others to take. It's hard to explain, but I can see it. Those who were close to Elvis will also see it. I'm so afraid someone will hurt her. She's been hurt enough. I hurt her. I only hope she knows that I was acting out of love. I pray she'll understand why I never told Elvis about her, or why I never told her about him. I thought I was protecting them. I thought I did the right thing. I'm not sure anymore. I recently dreamed that I was with Elvis again when he was struggling to launch his career. I was back with the real Elvis, the young man I knew at the beginning of the road, the boy with a quick smile and a beat-up guitar. He had a zest about him, a determination that would not be denied. Even when I'm awake, so many things remind me of him. I would never look at a star at night without thinking of Elvis. Falling leaves, green hills, autumn, it all reminds me of him. I hear his haunting voice on a distant radio station. I see his image laminated on wood at the county fair. Late at night, I turn the channel on my television set and see him singing and dancing through one of his movies. Happy and carefree. It's almost as if he's still with us. Except the phone is silent. There's no more midnight calls, with him sky high over his latest success, ranting about whatever upset him, or wallowing in despair over some minor defeat that he took much too hard. His image remains, but Elvis is gone. I realize I will be judged for my actions. I know people will look to see what part I played in his decline. Please try to understand, I did what I thought was best, not for me, but for him. I always put Elvis first. I need everyone to understand that, especially as fans, all of you who didn't know Elvis but loved him as if you did. I was among the fans at Graceland when he died. I, too, was on the outside. I saw the pain in your faces and tears streaming down your cheeks. You really cared. You cried with me. It gave me comfort. Recalling my past hasn't been easy. Some of it is ugly. I held it inside so long. I banished it from my memory so I could heal. I pretend that the nightmarish images have slipped away. They fade, but they never go away. The memories of Elvis help, but now even they bring pain. My love is as intense as it was in 1953 when Elvis and I met. I thought that too would fade, but it hasn't. My grief remains as deep as it was in 77 when suddenly he was gone. The tears come less frequently now, but they've never stopped. Even though I'm aware that I'll be judged, I have to tell the truth, all of it. An altered account would deceive not only the public, but my daughter as well. I can't do that. The only reason I've agreed to open up is to give my daughter a sense of her father and what we had, and to explain to her why I did the things I did. My daughter must know exactly how it was, the good times and the bad, the passion and anger, his few faults, my many. Desiree, my darling, I owe you this story and give it to you out of my love. I kept it from you far too long. I made you frustrated and angry, I understand. In a strange way, I respect you for that. Build strength around your anger. You're going to need it. So, once again, I'm going to kind of point out, this to me is very, like, you've seen pictures of Elvis with his cheekbones like this, you know? I don't know about the rest of it, whatever, you know, and we're going to have to read this book. But if she truly wasn't asking for money and wasn't trying to profit, something that he wrote, "But I miss you, love, L. Lancelot," that looks very much like Elvis's authentic handwriting. And I've studied Elvis's handwriting. We all know that other people signed. Now, could it be forged? Sure, it could be. Once again, I'm gonna remain skeptical with you. Certainly a pretty girl. That would be his daughter, if that's his daughter. Certainly pretty. We know that Elvis didn't have naturally dark hair, but a lot of times as you get older, your hair does get darker too. He was definitely a sandy blonde when he was younger, and then he dyed it, so we know it's not like a natural hair color thing. Desiree with Vester in 85. Anybody can take a picture of Vester. He was very nice about doing stuff like that. Interesting. Anyhow, let's read a little bit more, and let's see if there's any, maybe it goes into the day she met him, and then we'll stop there. Pretty enough for sure. All right. Are you lonesome tonight? Okay, so this is going to be background of her. So we'll save that for next time. I think we have a good start. Let's have a conversation about it. Now, try to keep an open mind. The reason why I bought this book, I remember reading it when I was younger. I did watch part of an interview. It was a French interview. The guy was speaking French. The mother was speaking French. And it looked like they brought her on there to make fun of her. That's all I've seen about it. So just to full disclosure, that's all I've seen when it comes to all that stuff. And I've read the book. So let's start another journey. Okay, we're not going to forsake Child Bride or Elvis and Kathy or My Army Days with Elvis or From Here to the Great Unknown, you know, but we're going to start reading some Are You Lonesome Tonight? We're going to pick up some other books as well, and we're going to have a good old time reading about Elvis, reading about potentially other loves of Elvis. I do know Elvis could do what the heck he wanted. Elvis got on a plane, left out of there. He was in his room for weeks at a time, supposedly. We know Elvis went off and hung out with Muhammad Ali at a training camp for a week. Nobody knew about that. Elvis did what the heck he wanted. So, is it possible? Sure it is. Elvis was not a stool pigeon. He was a man that did what he wanted to do. And he had deep resources, and he had people willing to keep secrets for him. Now, I got no clue where we're going to go with this book when it comes to if anybody else is going to say, yes, it's possible, or it happened, or I saw them together. I do know that this guy was pretty respected, I think. You know, he didn't believe it. We'll see. Thanks for taking the journey with me. This is Rare Elvis Photos.
He walked on stage with a smile, made our dreams come true for a while. Guitar in hand, moving wild, every scream made him feel alive. Shook his hips, people would sigh. If I can dream, he'd touch the sky. Jailhouse rocking all night long. to the rhythm of a rock and roll song. Elvis gave his life for his fans, sang his heart out right till the end. Every note he gave a piece of his soul, because rock and roll made him whole. Here's where music ended and began. Elvis gave his life for his fans. Long nights on the road, legends told, stories unfold. From Graceland to the crowd, he played every song loud and proud. Elvis gave his life for his fans, sang his heart out right till the end. Every note he gave a piece of his soul, because rock and roll made him whole. Here's where music ended and began. Elvis gave his life for his fans. He shined like the brightest star. Love for that music took him far. Echoes of his voice still live on in every one of his songs. Elvis gave his life for his fans, sang his heart out right till the end. Every note he gave a piece of his soul, because rock and roll made him whole. Here's where music ended and began. Elvis gave his life for his fans. Here's where all music ended and began. Elvis gave his life for his fans.
Real so much rock and roll song. He was like a piece of his soul, because rock and roll made him whole. Here's where music ended and began. Elvis gave his life for his fans.